A very warm welcome to all our viewers. We are here at the 8th edition of the Indian Hotelier Awards, and the theme of this year's event is revolutionizing the Indian hospitality sector. And so, on that note, I would like to ask you my first question. Uh, what would you say is the present state of the Indian hospitality sector? And as per you, what are the key trends that will shape the industry in the next 5 years?
Well, I think the Indian hospitality industry currently is in a very good space. When I say good space, I really mean by the way the progress has been made over the last, at least over the last half a decade or more. Just the increase in the number of room supplies. That let me say by saying three things. One, I think we've had great infrastructure development, which has been extremely positive for tourism. Number two, I think there is a rising demand from the middle income, from the higher income, from even folks at the slightly lower middle income. They're also traveling, and lastly, I think what has also happened is that the room supply has also increased at all price points. So the customer can choose, the traveler can choose. So that's been a very positive development for the industry. Right. Take for example today, Vande Bharat. Today, look at the road networks today that we have. I think this is all largely added to the positivity towards increase in tourism. And I think also the kind of number of brands that have come into in the marketplace for rooms, for example, the hospitality companies, global and Indian, who are growing, diversifying, catering to every so to say level of traveler. As far as price point is concerned and experience is concerned.
What are the avenues that you would say that stakeholders should focus on, to work on, to make sure that India becomes a global hub, a leader in the hospitality domain?
Well, I think it's a very difficult question, to be honest with you, because one of the things that we'll have to do is we have to market India in a much better manner. And we are not doing a good job of it, I have to be honest. We have to market it better. A safe and secure country for travelers. It's a clean country. Very, very important. Hygiene is very, very important to lots of majority of the travelers. If you talk about overseas travelers, right? Even for the Indian travelers, for that matter. And also great dining facilities, which are absolutely right on top of the game, right? So the other thing that will also benefit is if you provide more impetus to adventure tourism, for example. Mm-hmm. Very little focus on adventure tourism. There are limited places for adventure tourism. We have huge opportunities there to create great adventure tourism. Wildlife, for example. We have, some of it is very expensive, not affordable. Some of it is very cheap, which is not so great, right? Then come to spiritual tourism. That's a huge market today. Ayodhya, I was hearing some numbers, 11 crore tourists, visitors visited Ayodhya recently. And many other places, Dwarka, there are Tirupati, there is Shirdi. All these places are actually great opportunities for hospitality, hotel development, because numbers are going to go. God is not seasonal; it runs through the year. Right. Yeah, so people come through the year, and there is paucity of quality accommodation in these destinations. So instead of making it a one-day stay, you can make it a 3-day stay. Add some leisure component to it, right? Right. So I think those are the kind of things we can do.
Right, great. Very insightful. Minister Shekhawat mentioned in his opening address that budget and economy hotels need to be invested in. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think he's right. Budget and economy hotels must be invented. We must grow our portfolio in the budget and economy segment, because there's a huge aspirational traveler in India who's not in that so-called higher income group. They're probably in the lower to middle income group. And for them, they can't afford the luxury brands. I'm not going to call out.
But are big hotel names, big hotel chains doing something in that domain?
They are doing. A lot of development is actually, if I may say, is coming out in the economy brand, in the budget brand, because the cost of development of those properties is cheaper, and you get reasonable returns. There are no frill hotels really, but my submission to the industry has always been they should be clean. They should be clean, hygienic. Because what happens in India, unfortunately, is the gap between a luxury or a upscale hotel to a budget hotel, the difference in standards the gap is too much. So I think we should maintain the minimum standards, I would say. And I think there is a lot of room for development there.
Okay. What would you say about next generation technology like AI and machine learning? How are hotels leveraging these technologies for their benefit?
But to me, I think that the technology is going to be an enabler to serve the customers better. My bottom line is this: to bring in efficiencies, not just cost efficiencies, but service efficiencies. Yeah, whether you use AI, whether you use any other tools for technology, it is to be making sure that you serve the customer better. You need to become global in those standards. You don't have to, this whole thing about with contactless, so to say, business. That's already existing globally. So this needs to be a little more efficient. Yeah, at for check-ins, for check-outs, etc. I'm not saying it's going to go lead to robotic stage, no, but just using technologies to ensure that you bring in efficiencies and you are able to serve the guests better. I think investments must be made for technologies.
Would you say that the government is interacting with industry leaders enough to ensure that the industry, grows at its optimal growth rate?
I think government does. I mean, my own chamber, Indian Merchant Chamber, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I'm the chairman of the Travel Tourism Committee. I think we do fair amount of advocacy and awareness with the industry. We do put our point across to the ministry in the government of Maharashtra and even at the national level. And so do the other bodies, whether it's an FHRI, whether it's the Hotel Association of India. All the bodies work very, very closely with the government. They are having a very, regular dialogue with the government. And some things do get implemented, but there are others which take longer.
Okay, last question. So, BW Hotelier, our community, is going to complete 10 full years this January. What do you think, the role has been of this community to, bringing the voices together of the entire industry and its leaders and its people?
No, BW Hotelier has done an phenomenal job, actually. Congratulations on completing a decade and a very, very successful decade too. So I think they've managed to bring about the best minds together. They've managed to bring best readers together. They've managed to bring best talent together on just one platform. And that's very, very encouraging. And these conversations are very important, because if you want to make progress, you've got to bring in the bright minds for the progress. And I think Mr. Bhuvanesh Khanna, Mr. Anurag Batra, and the entire team, I think, has done an amazing job of doing this year on year and making sure that there's a sustained effort to ensure that the hospitality and the travel and tourism industry benefits from these conversations and these events.
So lovely chatting with you. Thank you. Pleasure.